welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Miss Rena, and for today's video discussion on principles in teaching mathematics, we are now in Chapter 5, Mathematical Pedagogical Knowledge of Teachers. Okay, ang bilis, di ba? So, minamadali natin siya ng konti because we are going to allot the time for this subject on the other subject na integrated dito sa time na to, which is abstract algebra. And also, we have to make time for your research. So, let's start. An effective mathematics teacher is one that does not know that does not only know mathematics deeply but also knows a lot about the teaching of mathematics. So simply put, if you are very intelligent in mathematics, that doesn't necessarily imply that you will be a good teacher in math. So kahit gaano ka kagaling sa math, hindi yan basis para masabi that you will be an effective teacher in the future. Bakit? Kasi you have to have the skills that is essential sa pag-transfer ng knowledge sa mga students. So kayo, bilang mga estudyante at the moment, do you see yourself teaching your fellow students how to perform mathematical tasks? If yes, then we can say that you have some skills in transferring your mathematical knowledge to other people. And that might be an indicator that you will be an effective teacher someday. So, hindi lang mathematical intelligence ang basis for saying that a certain person will be a good mathematics teacher. Mas mahalaga yung skill niya sa pagtuturo or skill niya sa pag-transfer ng mathematical knowledge sa ibang tao, especially students. So Schulman's 1986 pioneering categorization of this type of knowledge among mathematics teachers, which he calls pedagogical content knowledge or PCK, sparked much interest in how one can develop such knowledge. So if your answer to my previous question earlier is no, then MPK, mathematical pedagogical knowledge, this chapter will be very helpful for you in developing the skills in teaching mathematics. So, kung nagtuturo kayo sa mga klase tapos di nila kayo naiintindihan, then, uh, it's not too late. So, you can still work on it. And we are going to tackle the possible solutions kung hindi pa kayo effective sa pagta-transfer ng mathematical knowledge. So, we are going to make use of certain principles that we have already discussed in the previous chapters. These are the school mathematics curriculum, students' cognition of mathematics, tasks of mathematics teaching, and mathematical discourse. So, let's start with the knowledge of school mathematics curriculum. So, this is all about planning. So mathematics teachers understands instructional planning and design instruction, and it is anchored with the school mathematics curriculum. So paano ka gagawa ng plano if you don't know what the content of the curriculum is? So parang orientation. Hindi mo alam kung ano yung i-expect mo if you are not well-oriented. So para makabuo ka ng maayos at magandang plan for teaching, you have to get acquainted with the curriculum first. Ano ba ang laman ng mathematics curriculum nung level na tinuturuan mo? At hindi lang tayo limited dun sa level na tinuturuan mo. Pati yung laman nung level na sinundan niya, yung before. For example, you will be teaching grade 8 students. You have to be acquainted with the curriculum of grade 7. Why? So you will have an idea on the things that they should have learned already. And you will have a target. You will have a specific goal at you will have a specific starting point kung saan ka magsisimula. And aside from getting to know the curriculum of the level before your grade level, again grade 8 ka, Aside from getting to know the grade 7's curriculum, dapat alam mo rin yung curriculum ng grade 9. Bakit? So, you can set a goal para alam mo kung hanggang saan yung dapat mo maituro sa kanila so that pagdating nila ng grade 9, alam mo that they are well-equipped to face the challenges of math pagdating sa grade 9. I hope I was able to make it clear. Ayan. So, in order to have a good understanding of what goes into school mathematics curriculum, teachers must have a good knowledge of the wider field of mathematics, its contents, and its research areas and recent developments and applications beyond school mathematics. A sufficient knowledge of these helps mathematics teachers understand the expectations at the level of school mathematics. Yun, kasasabi ko lang kanina. So, knowledge of students' cognition of mathematics. So, kung ito kanina ay teacher, yung center natin, curriculum and teacher, ito naman, student and teacher ang involved. So, knowledge of students' cognition of mathematics. So, there are different types of learners. Diverse ang mga classrooms natin. Meron diyang mga visual learners, meron diyang mga auditory learners, meron diyang kinesthetic learners, meron diyang mga mixture of those different types of learners. Merong auditory na kinesthetic, merong visual na kinesthetic. So, you have to know the characteristics of your learners so you can prepare the materials and the teaching approach that will be the most effective in your classroom setting. So more than just knowing particular learners, mathematics teachers must have sufficient understanding of how learners learn. So in general and understand mathematics. This will help the teacher know the mathematical tasks and that are appropriate and what teaching methodologies are effective in promoting students' development and of critical and analytical thinking problem. So, mathematics teachers need to know how to interpret students' mathematical thinking as indicated by their written works and verbal explanations, including the errors students make, so that they could determine students' level of mathematical understanding. So, more than just acknowledging the items were in tumatama sila, kasi usually, di ba yun lang yung focus nating mga teachers, kung saan sila tama. You have to acknowledge kung saan din sila madalas nagkakaroon ng pagkakamali. So, for example, addition of negative integers. Hindi nila mag-grasp kung ano yung idea pagka mag-a-add ka ng dalawang parehas na negative. Tapos paulit-ulit nila yung ginagawa. Wala silang problema pag parehas na positive, pag isang positive, isang negative, pero pag parehas ng negative, may pattern. Lagi silang nagkakamali. So, what are you going to do as a teacher? So, you have to acknowledge their error and then focus on it and then itatama nyo kung ano yung pagkakamali nila. And then, monitor their progress. So, teachers must know the different mathematical tasks from which student learn mathematics best. So, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, we have a diverse mathematics classroom. So you have to know the types of learners that you have and the most effective method kung paano mo makukuha yung attention nila. If most of them are visual, then you have to have very attractive visuals. If they are auditory, then you have to develop your communication skills better. If they are kinesthetic, then you have to provide more activities so they can practice more. Mga ganon. So they must know how to engage students in significant mathematical tasks so they could raise students' level of understanding of mathematics and improve students' mathematical skills. So this implies that teachers know what teaching approaches are useful in developing specific skills and knowledge in mathematics. So knowledge of the tasks of mathematics teaching. So this domain includes one's knowledge of the different tasks related to the teaching of mathematics. So one is problem selection, next assessment, next is technology use and materials development. So yung kanina, quick recap lang tayo before tayo mag-start dito sa pangatlo kasi pangatlo na tayo eh. Una natin, this is the teacher and the curriculum. Pangalawa natin, the teacher and the learner. Pangatlo natin, so the teacher and her teaching methods. Okay, mathematics teachers need to know how to select the best problem and exercises to give so that the students learn the different methods and approaches to solving problems and the applications of concepts. So mathematics teachers also have to know different ways of assessing students' understanding of mathematics and their mathematical skills. So this is all about your techniques in assessing whether your students learned something from your subject or wala. So we cannot focus on just one type of assessment. Say for example, there are students who perform better kapag written yung activities. And then they are really quiet when you are doing performance tasks. We cannot say that students didn't learn anything from your classroom kung hindi sila sumasagot dun sa mga performance tasks, 'di ba? So you have to provide them a platform wherein they can express their mathematical abilities. So kailangan flexible ka. So the deeper that you know your students, the better you can assess them. So likewise, teachers could use assessment results to further improve their teaching skills. Cyclic naman to, katulad din nung ginawa natin kanina. Say for example, you found out from the assessment that majority of the class failed on a certain item. You will go back to that topic and then you will examine kung alin yung hindi nila naintindihan, kung alin yung hindi nila mag-grasp, and then you are going to explain it to them again until hindi naman all, but majority of the class can grasp the idea. So with the availability of technology, mathematics teachers must know when to use technology and how to use different technological tools in teaching mathematics. Last but not the least, mathematics teachers should know how to continuously develop teaching aids and other materials specific to mathematics. While there may be available materials, teachers know their students and students' context best. Hence, they are in the best position to develop teaching aids and materials that cater specifically to their students. So do not rely solely on what material you have from the library or from the school, kung saan kayo nagtuturo. You have to be resourceful. So you have, since you know your student best, kung sa tingin nyo ay a certain example will be very difficult for your students to understand, then you will adjust. Okay? So you will find a better example na mas maiintindihan nila. And then if you feel that they are better equipped, saka ka mag-move dun sa mga complicated ni examples. So next, we have knowledge of mathematical discourse. Discourse is important in mathematics. It is one way of engaging students deeply in mathematics. So if you give them something to think about, hindi kasi pwede na spoon feeding tayo. If you give them everything that they need to learn, wala na siyang challenge, 'di ba? So it is important to challenge your students' thinking skills. And it is important to always have an exchange of ideas among teachers and students. Kasi possibly, they have or they already know a certain approach different from what you are teaching. 'Di ba? Remember in mathematics, as long as wala kayong binaviolate na rule and nag-end kayo sa parehas na sagot, pero magkaiba yung solution nyo in between, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin that the student is wrong. Kasi marami tayong algebraic manipulations na pwedeng gamitin. Possibly may mga na-skip lang ikaw na outline dun sa solution mo, tapos yung student mas detailed, or ikaw yung mas detailed, dan si students medyo advanced siya, so nag-skip siya ng ibang parts ng solution. So, there should be a healthy exchange of ideas between teachers and students, and also students to students, to keep your mathematics lesson engaging. So, try to pose a certain problem, an open problem, and then at the end of the day, or at the end of the lesson proper, they should be able to answer that question after mo maituro yung topic. So, that is a form of engagement or a technique to keep them engaged kasi they have something to look forward to. Okay, meron silang ma-develop na goal at the end of the lesson. So the value of mathematical discourse as a pedagogical tool cannot be overemphasized. It is through discourse that teachers are able to detect students' faulty understanding of mathematical concepts, as well as appreciate students' deep and broad understanding of mathematical theories. Okay, skip ka na to. Kasi tapos na naman natin siya. Okay. So this time, okay, we are going to discuss quest for excellence in mathematical pedagogical knowledge. Okay? So ito yung ginawa natin nung Monday. Yan. Pero hindi ko na siya i-discuss. I-skip ko siya ulit. So, quest for excellence in mathematical pedagogical knowledge. So, it is helpful to pull together the ideas offered in Table 3 so that mathematics teachers and educators know how to achieve excellence. So, in the teaching of mathematics content, the model for excellence is the expert mathematics teacher who has a wider edge over the accomplished teacher in this domain of knowledge. However, the accomplished mathematics teacher is just as competent in some aspects of mathematics pedagogical knowledge and therefore must be emulated as much. So in this section, the expectations of expert and accomplished mathematics teachers with respect to mathematics pedagogical knowledge are summarized. So ano expectations natin for the expert mathematics teachers? Demonstrating understanding of the principles in the MFBE and incorporates these principles into the planning and design of instruction. So this is pretty self-explanatory. So I am not going to discuss this one by one. Rather, we are going to focus on Chapter 6, the general pedagogical knowledge and management skills of teachers. So, unahin natin ito. Knowledge of students, their cognitive development and context. So, this domain includes teachers' knowledge of the general characteristics of students that are under their care, their development and cognitive background, aptitude, and different situations and contexts that they come from. Or in other words, how well you know your students in terms of development, cognitive background, aptitude, and others. So teachers need to know this in order to plan appropriate methodologies for teaching not only mathematics but also little lessons in life and for developing them as learners who are future leaders of the country. Next, general teaching techniques and classroom processes. So mathematics teachers need, ay, teka lang pala. One effective tool on how you will achieve knowledge of students and their cognitive development and context. You can perform a diagnostic test. So sa diagnostic test, although focus lang siya on their academic achievement in mathematics, still, meron kang maliit na background on how your students perform. Okay? And then, yung ibang factors dito, may realize mo na lang siya while you are working together inside the classroom. Okay? Hindi siya instant. But, if you want to have uh, knowledge regarding your students beforehand, it is best to perform a diagnostic test. You can also develop other tools such as questionnaires to get to know their attitudes towards mathematics kasi kasama rin siya dito. And also, you can assess the most effective tools on how they learn best by using questionnaires then, performing surveys. May mga nag-exist na tayo na psychological questionnaires for identifying what type of learners your students are. Yan. Isang possible na gamitin natin yung VAK. Kanina ko pa siya sinasabi, yung VAK type of questionnaire. Visual Auditory Kinesthetic Learners. Yan. Next, we have knowledge of general teaching techniques and classroom processes. Mathematics teachers need not only know specific teaching techniques for mathematics, a good solid knowledge of general teaching techniques that have been proven effective, such as group work, practical work, investigative studies, class presentations, etc. So, in this era, we are encouraged to keep students involved as much as possible in the learning process. Hindi pwedeng tayo lang lagi. So, as much as possible, they have to, sa college level, pwede eh. Kasi, di ba pag, in reality ha, sa college level kasi, ibang approach. Um, Kaming mga teachers, most of us, especially on the school where I graduated, we are being measured through assessments and exams. Most of the time, the teachers do not care whether we are present or not. Wala talaga silang pakialam sa amin. Kaming mga estudyante, kami yung kailangan mag-adjust sa kanila. Kami yung kailangan mag-prove that we are deserving to get a passing grade. Hindi yung mga teachers yung nag-a-adjust sa amin. Kami yung kailangang magsipag, kami yung kailangang mag-absorb ng knowledge regardless of their techniques and methods. That is my experience as a university student. But if you will be teaching in the secondary level, iba yung process, mas strict. I don't even know if my teachers from the university plan their lessons. Parang sumusunod lang sila sa sa syllabus. Pero pagka high school, pag high school students, yung estudyante mo, if you're a high school teacher or elementary teacher, you have to be really creative. It is the students are your responsibility. The learning of your students ay nakadepende sa'yo. Hindi pwede na pabayaan mo lang sila. So you have to care for them. You have to monitor them. It is very different with the culture in the universities and in the tertiary level. Ibang-iba. These students are really dependent pa sa inyo. Unlike sa college, wherein they have the freedom to choose whether they want to pass or not. If they are not cut off to pass, then you can fail them. But for the high school level, di pwede. Kailangan mo mag-effort. So yun nga, balik tayo dito. Proven effective techniques are group work, practical work, investigative studies, and class presentations. So these can help them develop not just their mathematical skills, but also, if you will look at them closer, group work, practical work, sa group work, pati social skills nila made-develop. Practical work and investigative studies. So logical reasoning and critical thinking skills, class presentation, communication skills, 'di ba? That can help expand the repertoire of techniques that are tailored fit to mathematics. So knowledge of classroom processes helps mathematics teachers keep a structure that assists students in developing good study habits. So techniques in checking attendance and homework, for example, are important to learn in order to maximize the potential of each without sacrificing time to complete them. Ayan. Before ko to binasa, na-tackle na natin siya kanina dun sa explanation ko. So, other classroom processes that are important in any class includes test. Nasabi na natin kanina, there are students who perform better during written tasks. May ibang students na mas nag-excel naman sa performance tasks. So, you have to give both of these students opportunity to express or use their mathematical skills. Next, integrating library work, recitation, etc. So, learning the techniques on how to conduct or implement these would make classroom processes more efficient, exciting, and interesting to the learners. So, knowledge of theories of assessments. Yan. So, natututunan nyo na to dun sa iba yung teachers from Edu. So, although mathematics teachers are generally armed with techniques in assessing students' mathematical knowledge and understanding, excuse me, mathematics teachers also owe to know the different theories of assessment. So, these theories explain why certain assessment formats, for example, would not work in certain situations but would work in some. So, when knowledge is anchored on theory, knowledge lasts longer, so mas matagal ang retention if the technique that you use is based on theory, or if the assessment that you use is theory-based and is held more strongly. Thus, it is important for mathematics teachers to know and understand the different theories of assessing knowledge. For example, uh, paggawa ng items for an exam. So we are following a certain formula in defining the number of items for a certain exams, and it is based on the number of hours wherein you taught that certain topic and the level of difficulty of that certain topic. So that is just one example. So these theories would make the understanding of assessment richer, enabling them to shift and adjust practices as called for by specific situations and contexts. So, knowledge of professional responsibilities. Teachers' professional responsibilities include knowing and understanding the national and local standards of education and communicating effectively with parents of pupils, among many others. So, one thing that I love about teaching in the college level is that I don't have to deal with parents very often because college students are already adults responsible for their own learnings. But y- kayo, in your case, your goal is to get your license and teach secondary level students, right? So it is your responsibility to communicate with the parents as well. Ayan. So, mga bata kasi sila. So, you have to take care of them. Unlike in the college level, wherein I can, most of the time, I don't interact with parents. Kasi I consider, or we consider, the students, our college students, as adults responsible for their own learning. So, kapag ka meron silang naging problema, sila na lang yung mag-handle nun, hindi yung mga magulang nila. But in your case, high school, you have to deal with them. So, mathematics teachers have the responsibility to know and understand the standards of for maintaining good quality education in mathematics. So, these standards ensure that pupils do receive the kind of education that they deserve. These standards guide mathematics teachers in their implementation of the curriculum. So, mathematics teachers also need to develop their ability to communicate with parents effectively. Parents deserve to know an accurate and fair assessment of their children's progress in school mathematics. Do you still remember when you were in high school? You are required to show your report card to your guardian or parent and then return it to the school. Why? Because parents are involved in your learning process. So, there's report cards is one way wherein teachers and parents communicate. So, doon nalalaman ng mga parents kung ano yung performance ng mga anak nila through the card or through the report card. And, syempre, if mababa, in some cases, teachers reach out to the parents so they can make an intervention or so they can work together to improve the performance of the said learner. So who else would be in the best position to do this than mathematics teachers? They are the ones who teach and nurture students' knowledge and understanding of mathematics. So they ought to know how to give useful feedback to parents regarding their children's performance in mathematical activities, and more importantly, their understanding of mathematics. So table 4 shows the performance indicators for general pedagogical knowledge and the levels at which these indicators are expected to be manifested. Ayan. So again, this is pretty self-explanatory. May iba't iba tayong level. Na-explain ko na sa inyo yung mga legends dito. So it is on your part or on your end to study the content of this table. Okay? So I'll be um, cutting the discussion at this point. We are already in page 46. Konting-konti na lang, matatapos na tayo. Hopefully, by Friday, tapos na natin tong buong framework for Philippine Mathematics teacher. So, we can do the assessment na. And then, after that, we can focus on development of your lesson plans. And may mga case study na tayo. And after that, magba-abstract algebra na tayo. So, if my estimation is correct, in 2 weeks pa, so this is, consider natin to as week 0. So, next week is week 1, the week after that is week 2. So, week 3, ano na tayo, focus na lang tayo sa abstract algebra. And I'm going to do my best to teach you the essentials of abstract algebra. Hindi yung buong book, pero yung mga importanteng parts. Okay? Ganun talaga eh. Pinagsasama nila yung mga oras natin. So, thank you for listening and see you next time. Bye!